Bridging two of California's most prominent and respected wine-growing regions of Napa and Sonoma, we bring to you Knightsbridge Winery. Thanks so much for joining us today. This is a gorgeous spot here in Knights Valley. So to start off with, tell me about this location and what led the owners to find Knights Valley in the first place.
That's an excellent question. The owners have a great history of wine and great wine backgrounds. And so when they were selecting a property, looking around the North Coast in Napa, Sonoma, when they fell on Knights Valley, it really just felt right to them. It felt like a place that captured all the tranquility, all the sort of beautiful parts of Napa, but certainly with its own unique terroir, its own special place, and the ability to grow three varieties really successfully as well. So I think this was what really appealed to them.
It's so unique, and you were telling me about how the climate, it's so close to Calistoga and yet so different. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, indeed. That's one of the sort of individual characteristics of Knights Valley I think few people know about. So when I started with the project 10 years ago, as a winemaker, I was also very surprised to see how the fruit was ripening, and having worked quite a bit in Napa with Cabernet, to understand that we would pick our Cabernet after the entire Napa Valley is picked out was really a surprise to me.
Yes.
And so we understand that it's a much cooler site in many spots here, and also that the ripening curve is much more even here versus some of the heat spikes you can encounter in Napa. So.
And how does that play into the flavor of the grapes?
Well, I think that's a great question, and how that influences the wine flavor is that, most importantly, it gives you a great varietal purity to the wine. So the wines are neither overripe nor underripe, right? And I think they're really textbook. So if I were to, say, be teaching a wine class to younger students, I would use Knights Valley Cabernet as a textbook example of Cabernet Sauvignon to capture all the breadth of the varietal in terms of the complexity and all the sort of flavor notes of Cabernet Sauvignon.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting to note that although it's just north of Calistoga, so a lot of people group it in with Napa Valley, it's actually in Sonoma County. So you literally are bridging the two counties, essentially. Now, with your with the varietals that you are very specific in how you have planted each variety in a specific location. Tell me more about that.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So what's unique both about Knights Valley and then unique to this property is that we have several, as we talked about it being cooler than many places, but it also makes really world-class Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, and Bordeaux varieties, right? And there are a few places in the North Coast, any North Coast appellation, that can make that claim, where the wines are really beautiful, enduring, ageable, and really complex. So what's unique about this property within Knights Valley is that we have several different positions and several different aspects. One of the things you'll see as we go around and we do the tour with the drone and drive around the property is that you'll see we have sort of clay loam soils near the river bank here, which are richer, more adapted to whites and Sauvignon Blanc. And then you get on the hills where you've got a little bit different exposures. And that's where we can take advantage of planting Bordeaux varieties because the soils are a little bit more poor. But also, interestingly, we have sort of two different types of volcanics on the hills as well. So we have a very rich, redder soil, and then we have certain stretches of rhyolite, which is called the white tufa. And when you plant Cabernet Sauvignon on these different spots, it certainly adds up to the expression of the wine in terms of the soils they're grown in. The vine's response to irrigation and everything is different in these soils, so it really does make it a parcel by parcel sort of management of it. And so not only does Knights Valley have this sort of unique personality, but this property itself has just a bunch of individual characteristics that make it unique.
So if someone's opening a bottle of Knightsbridge, what can they expect?
Right. I think in each case, whether it's Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, or Cabernet Sauvignon, I think they're just classic expressions of the varietal and classic expressions of Knights Valley as well. So I think the beauty is they capture the varietal in a way that shows great intensity, but also great elegance, great ageability. And so when you think of Knightsbridge, I really like to think of a very classically styled wine within those classically styled varieties, Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, and Cabernet Sauvignon. So that's sort of the vision, and I think that's the experience people have, and I'm really refreshed when we go out and present the wines on the road. People, one of the most frequent comments is, "This is so refreshing," because the wines are so balanced and they're so pure. They really bring the varietal forward in a very classic way. So I think those are some of the takeaways we get, some of the feedback we get from our customers.
Wonderful. Well, with that being said, why don't we join your colleagues and taste some wine?
Wonderful. Let's do it.
When such detailed attention is spent matching the perfect grape to the perfect place, the result is wine excellence. Be sure to add Knightsbridge wines to your collection today, and thank you for your support.